need to be mindful that it is very different here in Australia than what it is in the US when it comes to the physical production of your book. Hi, my name's Ian Bosler. I have a publishing business that helps independent authors establish themselves as the authority expert in their marketplace. And I also operate a printing business in Australia, which gives me some very interesting insights into the whole physical or bulk book production process as it pertains to the Australian marketplace. And what I'm about to share with you may very well also operate outside of Australia, outside of the US, so maybe in the UK, for example, or even Canada. But I'm mainly my insights are based around what I've experienced here in Australia. When it comes to bulk printed books, you've really got two options. The first one is you continue to use CreateSpace. You can order bulk books from CreateSpace to be delivered to Australia. That can happen. Again, it's simple to organise. However, delivery time can typically take 3 to 4 weeks, or it can actually even be extended if it gets held up in customs. Particularly the larger the order, the more difficulty it has, or more inspections it has going through the customs process. So you just got to be a bit mindful of that. Also, some of the options that are available from CreateSpace aren't available for the Australian marketplace. And the obvious one for me is gift wrapping. The other one is free shipping and shipping to venues. While you can still get it shipped to venues, the delays and the difficulty in getting the timing right virtually makes it impossible to use CreateSpace for that. Now, the alternative is to use Intertype, which is my business, or another suitable printer. Now, there are other printers out there, I'm sure, who can do what we do. I'm going to be talking about what happens at Intertype. However, if you want to go somewhere else, I'm sure what we're going to share with you has relevance there. But you need to be mindful of is not every other printer can actually print books. There's only probably a small handful in each of the major cities that actually can print a book. It requires specialist equipment to actually do the binding, and particularly in short volumes, it requires specialist digital equipment to produce the books in an efficient and effective manner. Okay. But when you know how to produce books here in Australia and how the process works, it's basically just as simple to organise as it is through CreateSpace. It's really not that difficult. The big difference you'll see is that the delivery time will typically be 2 to 3 days, so a massive difference there. Also, again, speaking from Intertype's perspective, gift wrapping is available, and there's a whole raft of custom options available. And the other thing is to, again, from the Intertype perspective I'm talking from here, the total cost of book production is probably very similar to CreateSpace, particularly when you have to consider the exchange rates and the freight issue. Now, to get it done simply and effectively, it's all in the planning. Okay. Now, just a little bit word on your book and the appearance of your book, because what we're doing here is we're putting a physical document together. It's a physical reminder of your brand, and it's a permanent reminder of your brand. So you need to be a little bit more careful with that from an appearance perspective than, say, an EPUB book or a Kindle book. And one of the biggest things that we see is spelling and grammar issues. Quite frankly, we often get books come through here that look like they've been edited by somebody who's failed kindergarten. Some of them are very, very bad. Don't recommend you have bad grammar and spelling. Get it edited properly. The other thing you need to be mindful of is a well-designed cover has to also meet the printing standards. Now, the standards for an EPUB cover or a Kindle cover are very, very different. The quality of the images, the resolutions, all of that sizing and everything is very, very different. So you can't just take a Kindle cover and stick it in to a printed book. Okay. And that's the same with CreateSpace. It's the same wherever. Okay. The other thing is text page formatting. If it's done well, it makes a massive difference to the book's appearance. And the other thing to be mindful of is a nice looking book doesn't cost any more to print, not 1 extra cent. So invest a little bit in the formatting, and there's not much you have to invest in it, quite frankly. It's quite low cost, but it makes such a big difference. Okay. When it comes to text formatting, I personally recommend Word. It's easy to use if you want to do it yourself, but it's also easy to outsource to virtual assistants, or you might even be able to, if you're going to outsource your editing, get your editor to format for you in Word. And now, how easy is that? If you want to do it yourself, my recommendation is get a template. And we get our templates from bookdesigntemplates.com. They're cheap, $37 or something, I think, US. It's still very cheap, cheap as chips. And it makes a massive difference to the way the book output is appearing. Okay. For textbooks, also be mindful of is that it's massively cheaper and faster to use Word than to use a graphic designer using InDesign. Okay. Massively cheaper. For example, in Word, we'll typically format a book in 2 hours. It's a 140-page book. That same book done in InDesign with a graphic designer will take close to 20 hours. So really 10x the effort. So unless you've got lots of graphics, it's a coffee table book and what have you, you can steer away from InDesign, just use Word. Works brilliantly. The other thing, Word's got a lot of automation tools in there, such as the creation of content pages, pagination, etc. It's just margins and headers and footers. It just works very easily. The other thing is that Word will, when it's properly set up, will create the perfect PDF for printing. You don't need anything better than Word. Now, some graphic designers will come back and say, yes, but it doesn't have trim marks and bleed. You don't need that for a text-based document, book. Basically, the trim marks, again, I can't speak for other printers, we can apply those to a PDF after it's been created. You don't need to create it in Word. You don't need to worry about it in that area. Just create it in Word to the right page size and it'll work. Okay. Now, speaking of size, it does matter. There is a big difference in standard sizes between the USA and the rest of the world. Now, compromise, though, will allow the best of both worlds. In other words, we've come up with a sizing and an approach that means you format it once. And we format it to the CreateSpace standard sizing. And we just tweak it a little bit for the Australian printing. And we tweak it in the printing and production process, not in the formatting process. Here we recommend you use, to keep your costs to an absolute minimum, this is the most efficient size, page size to print in Australia. Use the 5.5 by 8.5 inch template. And when you set up in CreateSpace, go for that, 5.5 by 8.5, which is in metric terms 140 by 216 millimeters. So again, it's a standard CreateSpace size, but from our end, we actually can trim that down a little bit. We trim it to 140 by 207 millimeters, and that suits the Australian paper sizes, well actually the American paper sizes, which is just about the rest of the world. And doing it this size, we actually minimise your production costs. And it's going to be virtually the same as a book that's come from CreateSpace. You'd need to put side by side, and you just see the little bit of difference, 5mm top and bottom. Okay. With this approach though, you need to take a little bit of care with the cover. And here we recommend that you keep text and important design elements at least 15 millimeters from the top and bottom edge and 10 millimeters from the trimmed side edges. A good design approach will always have around about 10 millimeter clear around the top, bottom and sides. Okay, when I say clear, you can have print colour behind there, but keeping text away from there, or solid, strong design elements like a picture of a person's head or something like that. You want to keep that away from those edges. Fiverr designers, which you're probably all using, may well have good creative skills. In fact, we use them for creative concepts because we can tap a whole raft of creative ideas at a very low cost and fast way. But generally, they lack technical artwork skills. Now, you may find ones that don't, and that's great. Stick with them. They're good. We also find this whole issue of lack of technical artwork skills is not just confined to Fiverr designers, by the way. We find that 95% of all the artwork files we receive have fatal technical artwork errors. And so the problem's just not a Fiverr problem. It's a universal problem, and it's a global problem. Okay? Now, when you're going to get your cover designed, by fiber, let us know the page count. If you just all you have to do is let us know, we'll provide you with a template and some technical artwork guidelines for you to pass on to your fiber designer. That way you can turn around and get the design, the artwork meeting with a high probability the right specifications for printing. Okay. An alternative is to get the Kindle PSD files from your fiber designer or the Photoshop files, and Intertype can finish it off for you. Now, there may be some cost incurred in here, but what we do is we actually take those layers, the images, the creative, import it into a proper print design package, such as InDesign or Illustrator. And that way we can turn around and produce the text in a vector format. This just means, cutting the jargon, means that the text will print pin sharp, absolutely razor sharp. When you produce a print file from a PSD file or a Photoshop file, it prints as an image. It actually causes the text to get fuzzy. So it can detract from the quality and look and feel of your book. So again, we recommend it. Go to a proper InDesign file. Now, you can talk to your fiber designer. They may very well be able to do that for you. In fact, I'll be surprised if they can't. So just something to be mindful of is using proper graphic design tools for the printed book. Okay. Cover. Okay. Now, we've created a simple 7-step process to get through here. Simply, all you do is email contact@intertype.com.au, confirming your page size and page count. We will then send you confirmation of cost, and we typically need to look at a minimum economic run size of 50. Then you just email Intertype confirming the go-ahead and delivery details. We will then email you a cover template and the guidelines that you can turn around and give to your fiber designer or your local designer. Then when they're finished and the document's all formatted, you can then just email or preferably upload it to our Dropbox, and we'll give you links to a Dropbox that you can use. Or you can use Dropbox or Hightail or whatever one that you like yourself. Intertype will then quality check. We actually run a 32-point quality check on the technical aspects of the file, not on the creative aspects, not on the grammar and spelling. We don't do any spell checking or proofreading. Okay. If it's okay to print, we'll then ship within 2 to 3 days. If it's not okay, we'll let you know so that you can turn around and take it back to your designer to get that tweaked and sorted out. We will then retain and back up your print files. We do that so for fast and easy reprinting. You need to be mindful though that we're not looking after version control here now. You need to look after that. So if you make any changes, you need to reissue the files to Intertype so that we can then turn around and replace the existing files before we go into printing. Now, we've also got some optional extras here. One of the things you need to be aware of is that Intertype is extremely flexible and we're open to all sorts of radical ideas. Now, Australia's marketplace and the size of it means that we're able to approach things differently to create space. And in fact, we're much more individualised. We're able to do that easier here. And the reason is that you just consider what CreateSpace has to do. I mean, something like there's tens of thousands of titles they have to turn around and produce every single day. That's massive. And if they have to turn around and individualise it at that level, it should be just impossible for them, logistically totally impossible. So that's why individualisation is very limited through places like CreateSpace. Some of the common options that we provide here in Australia is fulfilling of individual book orders. That's where clients are actually selling their book through their own website. They do that because they can get a better royalty, make more money, is one of the things, but also package it up with other materials, like we'll turn around and package it up with DVDs, CDs, information products, all of those sorts of things we produce and package for our clients. Gift wrapping is available for Australia via Intertype. In fact, we get a lot of clients at Christmas time where we'll just wrap a whole raft of books so that they can then turn around and either hand deliver or we'll mail out to their individual clients. You can include marketing material. In fact, we actually encourage it with each order. Book signing kits available. That includes posters and pull-up banners. And hey, what about a bookmark? The ideal thing to go along with a book. Of course, the list goes on. So there's lots of options, lots of flexibility available here. Now, if you want to reach out and engage Intertype to help you with the physical production of your book, great. We're happy to be here to help you. The easiest way is to either contact us via our website, which is www.intertype.com.au, or you can contact us via our email, which is contact@intertype.com.au, or just phone on 03 9830 6619.